was out. Joby was you were doing the baseball game on Saturday, and I was out working at the old transmitter site.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there we go. And look, I got a bruise in here. Got a bruise here. Got a little
Stuff falling on you or what?
No, I'm just trying to work younger than my age.
Oh, yeah. I understand that.
So how was Rio Rancho?
It was a good 3 days. Bulldogs didn't play like they wanted to. I don't think, because they didn't get a win. But yeah, it was good. It was pretty weak. I think it was down here was pretty also. So just it was warm, fairly warm, and they played in the morning each day. But so it was a little cool at the start, but it's pretty. It's a good week.
You ever sit there while you were doing the games and think, I should be fishing right now?
I thought it several times. It was such beautiful days. Of course, that doesn't mean to be beautiful on any lake I might be at, but it was there, and I know it was here too. So, yeah, I thought about it. Although I shared some stuff on Facebook. I took some pictures of where I would set up and said it was not too bad of an office setting, and it wasn't. It was really pretty.
Yeah.
And the last day, which was Saturday morning, they actually played, and you already know this, but they played on the JV field, so there was no shade. And so it's kind of funny. I had sleeves.
Yeah, so I can see where they were.
And it's funny to me because I had this one pushed up further. I was off balance. I got some sun because I sat there, and that game was so long. I think it took over 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I was just in the sun for 3 hours, not doing anything but sitting there talking.
Well, at least the wind wasn't blowing.
No
so
wind.
You didn't have all the sand going into your face.
No, there was very, very little wind. The day one on Thursday, it was the breeziest day, but even then it wasn't that bad. But, yeah, on day three, being down on that JV field where it was actual dirt field and grass field instead of turf,
yeah,
could have been bad. I know you said you've had it there before where it was a dust bowl or a sand bowl. But,
sand bowl, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't that way for Friday.
Well,
Saturday.
I've been sunburned there, too, because at one time they didn't let us sit up behind home plate in the shade.
Oh.
And on the dugouts, they used to have chairs. And I've sat on top of the dugout before doing a game up there but they've added some things, so it wasn't so bad. You were able to...
Well, I didn't even ask anybody. There was NFHS was there, and when I got there, and also Carlsbad Radio was there. Their game was the first one on Thursday. And I just walked in carrying my table and chair and looked over everything, and then I had the table and chair, and I just set it up right there by Carlsbad.
Yep.
And didn't ask. I didn't have tape, but it worked. I mean, because I had to run a cord across. Of course, that's a walkway. It's like a mezzanine. You know what it looks like, but for the folks listening, but the crack in the cement joints, I just put my cord in that, and it worked. The first game, I kept looking back because I didn't want anybody to trip over it. I was worried about that, but it was down in that, and somebody had hit it, knocked it out, but I would just straighten it up. But anyway, I took a picture of that setting, and then over there on the JV field too, and talked about it on social media, saying it was a good office.
Yeah.
Midday office setting.
So in between tournaments, when you're a bass fisher, fish, do you go fish? Do you practice for tournaments? What?
I have not. Let me think before I say this. We're here it's March 28th, correct?
Yes.
That's today.
That's today.
So we are almost 3 full months into 2022, and I have not even got a hook wet one time.
What?
Yeah. I have not been fishing. Not even one time. Haven't put my boat in the water, and it's been over 6 months since I've been fishing. I'm about ready to
You're ready to
be
go.
beside myself, but I'm not. And, of course, I'm here to talk about fishing, and I'm not going to be able to go this weekend. Our next tournament is actually this Saturday and Sunday, or we have the 2 tournaments. This year we've broken them up into 2 one-day tournaments. And I'm not going to get to go.
You're not going to get to go?
I'm not going to get to go. So I'm disappointed by that. But our Bass Club, Pecos Valley Bassmasters, are fishing in conjunction with New Mexico Bass Nation at Possum Kingdom, which is over in Texas. And we're going to have the 2 one-day tournaments. It is individual, so there'll be a boaters versus boaters and non-boaters versus non-boaters in the tournament for us and for New Mexico Bass Nation. We're fishing that all season this year. That's one of the two changes that we made. The significant changes to our schedule was that instead of having a 2-day tournament each time we have one, we're having 2 one-day tournaments. And the other significant change, which we started last year toward the end of the year, is having boaters versus boaters and non-boaters versus non-boaters. So there's actually 2 tournaments within the tournament, you know. And so those tournaments are this weekend at Possum Kingdom, and I'm going to be sending out the information. It's kind of been a strange year for me just because, number one, I haven't gone yet, and number two, we did vote in new officers this year. I remained at the president, but we have a new tournament director and we have a new treasurer, and I've kind of been managing those things for the last several years. And so I haven't been on top of it as much as I maybe would have in the past. Number one, not being able to go fishing in our early tournaments, and number two, not really thinking about it anymore but I told our new treasurer and our new tournament director that I would help them. It's just been I've been busy with other work and with KSVP, and I haven't done a very good job. But I'm going to get, so that anybody out there listening that's a member, they may be wondering, because normally I would get information out on Sunday, the week of the tournament, and I didn't do it yesterday. I just really kind of just forgot about it, and I hadn't talked to our new folks. But I did this morning. I talked to them, and I'm going to be getting all the information emailed out later today once I get a chance. But it'll definitely be today for all the members out there that are wondering where the invoices are and where the information is. So that information is coming out today. The normal will be that you still got to be entered by Thursday at noon, whether you pay through the PayPal invoice or you find me or our new treasurer this week, and you can pay that way if you'd like, members. If you are not a member but you want to fish, you can still join. Just go to pvbm.club, click on the Join tab, and then fill out that enrollment form and send it to me. I still haven't updated. I think it still says 2020 on it, but don't worry about that. It's the same form. If you want to fish this weekend, please get that email to me. The information is there, and Gene's pulling it up now, but there's that PDF. You just click on that PDF, and it'll populate. You can actually, it's a fillable PDF, or you can print it out and fill it out, either way. But you can fill it out there and then email it in to the proper place, and it's on there. Pecos Valley Bassmasters at hotmail.com is the email, but it is on there. And so if you do that and you want to fish this weekend, that's great. I'll get you the invoice for joining the club, as well as the information and invoice for this weekend. But that's where we're at with Pecos Valley Bassmasters. We also have in April, we have 3 tournaments in April. So that's another little twist we did this year, is we added 4 one-day tournaments at Brantley Lake, scattered out from April, May, June, and July, I believe. And so we have the tournament this weekend, which is the 2nd. April 2nd is the first tournament at Possum Kingdom. April 3rd is the second tournament at Possum Kingdom. And then I think April 30th, is that what it shows on there?
April 30th, Brantley Lake.
Brantley Lake. That'll be a team tournament. It'll be one day. It'll be that Saturday. And so there's 3 opportunities this month. I say we're not in April yet, but in April to fish with the Pecos Valley Bassmasters. And there may be some out there that's, because we've had this in the past, that say, well, I'm not sure I want to really dive in fully yet because of all the travel, but maybe they'll fish, since we're going to fish at Brantley again this year. Haven't fished it the last couple of years, but for all the reasons, obvious reasons. But now that we're going to, there may be some out there that say, you know, I'll go ahead and maybe fish those 4 tournaments. And plus they're team tournaments, which also kind of alleviates some pressure because you got 2 of you fishing, trying to catch those 5 fish. And so anyway, that's what we've got coming up in April.
Because it looks like you've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. Brantley appears on your schedule 4 times. Right.
So April, May, June, and July, we have one-day tournaments. They're Saturday tournaments only. They're team tournaments, and they're all 4 at Brantley. So again, if we got folks out there that are interested in maybe dipping their toes into tournament fishing they never have before, but they are interested, they're here in the Pecos Valley. Those would be good tournaments to kind of get your feet wet, so to speak. Because you're not going to have to travel very far, depending on where you're at here. I mean, you might be in Hobbs or Roswell or Carlton, but still, you're not going to have to travel like Possum Kingdom, you know, is 6.5 hours away. So that's a pretty big investment with fuel prices at $100 a gallon and things like that. So it's expensive. It's always been an expensive hobby, but it's a little more so now with gas prices where they're at, fuel prices. But anyway, we did that this year for a number of reasons. Number one, because Brantley is not empty, and hopefully it won't be over the summer. Number two, we can fish out there without any issues now. And number three, it's right here. And hopefully, I know that there's been some of our anglers have been out there fishing and have been catching fish. So looking forward to that. And I'm planning on fishing that tournament. It'll be my first one of the year if I get to fish it. But anyway, that's where we're at with Pecos Valley Bassmasters.
There you go. Let me ask you this. You mentioned that you haven't had your boat in the water. Is there a checklist when a boat hasn't been in the water for a long period of time, a checklist of things that you have to go through?
Really good fishermen would have a written, this guy is not a really good fisherman. I try to go through, you want to check a lot of stuff. Your boat's been sitting over the winter, which is what typically happens with guys like me that aren't, fishing tons and tons of tournaments. So you want to go through your boat. You want to check everything out, maybe clean it out from if you didn't get it cleaned out from the end of last season, and then put it on the water and check all your normal things. Check all your gauges. Check your water pumps. Check your for your bilge pump. Make sure it's working in case you get flooded for some reason. Check your live wells. They need to be pumping and circulating properly. Check your trolling motor. Check your all of your fish finders and things, all your electronics. So yes, there is a list that probably would be smart for me to write down an actual list and then go through and check mark. And I'm pretty good at lists, but for whatever reason, I've never done it with my boat.
Yeah.
And then get all your gear ready. Fishing gear, your lures, your tackle boxes, your fishing poles, your line. It's probably very wise to change your line. A lot of guys do it every tournament. I don't typically do that, but I'm talking about your fishing line on your poles, on your reels. So yeah, there is that, and
kind of a checklist.
It's kind of just like anything else that you're going to be involved in. You want to make sure you got your proper equipment, it's properly in tune, and all that stuff.
Well, and then your safety equipment.
You want to make sure.
Is there a lifespan on things like life preservers and vests and stuff like that, or do they?
There's the old life preservers, the old style, which were just life vests. I don't think there was a lifespan on those. No, I don't think. They make new ones that have that auto inflate if they get wet, so they don't look. And those is what most people wear these days. And those little canisters, I think, can expire. Or
so you got to check those.
So you got to check all that. You need to make sure you've got the stuff that's required. The state of New Mexico, and probably every state, has a list of things that if they check you need to make sure you have. You're supposed to have a throwable device, a rope. You're supposed to have a horn or a whistle. If your horn works, that works. But if it doesn't, then you need a whistle to be able to honk or wait. Get people to look at you if you're in the water.
Right.
A bailing device. If you're taking on water. So anyway, there is a safety list, and this year I didn't send that out. In years past, for all of our members, I always send them a copy of that, even though they can go get it themselves. I didn't do that this year again, I think just because I just wasn't on top of it as I normally am. But, people that fish and join clubs, they know what they're doing. I mean, it's an assistance thing when I've sent that out in the past, just a reminder, okay, these are the checklists. You better have all this stuff on your boat, because if you get stopped by a ranger or by a lake ranger or by a who checks your license? My mind's not working.
Your game and fish
department check
folks.
you. Either one of those. Most of the time, they're going to ask to see your boat registration, your life vests, because it's not required to wear those things, but it is required to have them on your boat. For anybody that's on the boat, you got to have life vests that fit properly and that are good. And that means like the ones I was talking about that have the canisters, they check that date, make sure it is good. You got to have an oar. You got to have that bell bucket. So they'll go through that, and there is a list out there on the New Mexico. I think it's on the New Mexico Game and Fish website that has those lists. I think, or maybe it's on the Parks and Recreation. But in any case, you're right. There are some checklists there too that you need to make sure you got in your boat.
which is all important because you don't want anything bad to happen. And but if something does happen, you want to be prepared.
Yep, you want to be prepared for whatever it is that may happen. You want to try to have that, and that's why the state or the Game and Fish or the Parks and Recreation departments have those lists, is to kind of help people. Make sure you got these items on your boat, and that way, if you have an issue, you've got something for help.
That's right. I was just looking on the New Mexico Game and Fish website to see if they have.
I think it may be on the New Mexico Department of, or the Parks and Recreation, maybe where that list is for the stuff requirements for your boat.
Yeah, and then they want to make sure that your trailers are registered and registrations are up to date.
When they, on the water, they don't look at your trailers, but yeah, that's just like your vehicle. I mean, you're driving down the road. If you don't have a properly tagged trailer, you'll get pulled over. I mean, you run the risk.
Potentially could be, yeah.
Pulled over and cited for not having your stuff registered, yeah.
So, well, good. So, they're going fishing this weekend. Get signed up if you haven't already, and then be looking for your tournament information later today.
Yeah, those that are already members, you'll be getting that information later today. If you haven't signed up to be a member, but you want to fish, then do that, and that way I can get you the information plus the invoice for this weekend.
Very good. Joby, thank you so much.
Yep, thank you again.
And thanks to Rob at Kith and Kin.